How are you today? So, Anthony, I heard that Janice had a conversation with your parents, and they decided to send you to me. I understand that you are afraid of doctors, correct? Now, how old are you? 17. Well, young men your age usually aren't afraid of doctors, but as soon as you walked in the room, I instantly saw the reason why you were afraid of doctors. And it's all because of something that happened a long time ago. Now, what I'm about to discuss with you might be a little beyond your comprehension, but I hope you listen to me. You may not even believe what I'm saying, but please hear the story I'm about to tell you, okay? And don't worry, I think I can help you with your problem. So, Anthony, the life before this life that you're having now, you lived in Western Pennsylvania in the 1920s on a farm. I know. It's hard to believe, but this is what I see. You were a 5-year-old little boy, and one day you were playing in the barn with your brother who was 9 years old. You were throwing a ball or doing something, and unfortunately, right above where you were playing was a loft, and there was a pitchfork leaning against a box in that loft, right near the edge of the loft, right above where you boys were playing. And your brother threw the ball, and it hit the pitchfork, which caused it to fall straight down from the loft, and you were standing right underneath. Well, the pitchfork, the middle tine of the pitchfork went right through your head and pierced your head into your brain and made a hole 3 inches deep. Well, of course, your brother was quite upset, and he pulled the pitchfork out of your head and rushed you to your parents. You were totally conscious at this time, and you really did not have much pain, but you were in shock. The brain does not feel any pain, which is a good thing in this case. So, you really needed immediate emergency brain surgery, but there really weren't any neurosurgeons in Western Pennsylvania in the 1920s with the skills to do what they had to do. They needed to irrigate your wound with an antibiotic solution and repair the blood vessels and remove any dead tissue and remove the brain, remove the skull fragment that had embedded in your brain when the pitchfork tine pierced your skull. And they needed to replace that skull fragment back on your skull and close up the hole. Well, as I said, there weren't any neurosurgeons or brain surgeons in Western Pennsylvania in the 1920s. In fact, probably the entire world did not have a man with those skills or a woman with those skills who would be able to save you. So your parents did the best that they could. They put a bandage on top of your head and brought you to the family doctor. Well, medical science was, to say the least, very primitive in those days, even in the 1920s. And the doctor, the so-called doctor, well, that man was, frankly, an idiot. He poured a solution of iodine into the hole in your head. And within a few minutes, because the iodine was so extremely toxic to the brain, you died right there in the office. When your spirit left your body, you felt fine and you were not in pain, but you were very frightened and confused. And thankfully, a beautiful angel named Venus took you by the hand and escorted you into the spirit world. And that is the story. So, which brings us to the present. You know, when we are on this earth, what seems like the end really isn't the end. Our souls live forever. So here you are now reborn into this life. And you're alive and well, aren't you? So with that in mind, I want you to believe you are not in any harm and you should not be afraid of doctors. And besides, right now we have much better technology. We have antibiotics, which weren't discovered until the 1940s. We have thousands of drugs that can save people's lives, so you shouldn't be afraid. Doctors are much smarter than they were at that time. So now I want you to say 2 simple things to yourself every day. I want you to say, number 1, the events from my life in Pennsylvania in the 1920s are no longer important and cannot harm me anymore. And the second thing I want you to say to yourself is, I will not be afraid of doctors. If you say these 2 simple things to yourself every day, within 2 months, your problem will be gone. So, what do you think? And I'd like to tell you something else. Your brother that accidentally killed you in that life in the 1920s was devastated and heartbroken for life. He never got over it and he felt guilty. But the good news is that your brother in that life is now your father in this life. I'm sure you noticed how protective your father is of you.